Hey guys, so I haven't decided if this is just going to be a normal, regular movie review um, with the first two original Fright Night movie installments. The original first Fright Night done in 1985, and then the sequel that followed in 88, and then talking about the remakes that were done in one was done in 2011, which was the first one, and then the other one was done in 2013, I believe, called New Blood. I prefer the originals over the remake simply because there was no CGI, no computer animation, none of that, no green screen. It was just your special effects, prosthetics, makeup, you know, typical things that they use to make their monsters look realistic. The originals used way too much CG. Let me say that again. The originals used special effects, puppetry, makeup, contact lenses, all that good stuff. The new versions that were released did a lot of CGI, and they basically what they did is they did the remake in 2011 with Colin Farrell, Anton Yelchin, and the kid that played McLovin on Superbad, and they wanted to make it different from the original. I understand that, but I wasn't necessarily a fan of the remakes that they did. I tried watching the remake that was done in 2011 with my father and then by myself. I just wasn't. I didn't find it um, creative. I didn't find it funny. It didn't have that nostalgic, old vampirish atmosphere feel to it. The original brought back the vampire lore, the folklore of it, brought it back and made it modern, but also made it comical. Chris Sarandon's Jerry Dandridge was very charming, charismatic, um, seductive, sensual, and it could hurt you if you got on his bad side and you pushed him far enough. The version that Colin Farrell played in the 2011 remake was more monster. You know, try to be like Chris's version of Jerry Dandridge, but he was more of a monster, not so seductive, and he was more muscular. As to where Chris was, he wasn't muscular, but he brought his own ideas to it and made it his own, which is why stood up the test of time. And there are certain people that love the remake, that fancy Colin Farrell. I like Chris Sarandon more than I do Colin Farrell, to be honest, as an actor, because Chris has something about him that is just unique, charming, charismatic, and seductive. He can be funny when he needs to be. He can, any character that he's given that he has to work with, he makes it work, and he makes it enjoyable for the audience. Colin Farrell is not my cup of tea as an actor. I just thought I'd put that out there. David Tennant, his version of Peter Vincent, is supposed to be a vampire killer, not a Chris Angel-like character. I didn't like that. I didn't find any interest in it. I didn't find it funny. The only thing that was a bright spot is when they asked Chris Sarandon to come back as JD, but in human form, not a vampire. You smushed my car. What'd you run into my car for? And then he automatically gets killed off. What is that? You automatically kill off the original villain from the first Fright Night. You know that's gonna piss in some fans' Wheaties, the ones that have watched the original countless times and are intrigued by it. I love the original. I could watch it more than 20 times and still not be bored by it. Stephen Jeffries did a wonderful job as Evil Ed. He's the quirky, funny yet cheeky, yet loving, caring friend, and he's his own person. The person that replaced his role, that took over the role in the remake, I didn't find him to be funny. I wasn't intrigued by it. I didn't find it funny. I tried to like it, I just couldn't do it. Um, but that's just me. And the woman that replaced Amy in the original just didn't do anything for me. I couldn't get into her character. I couldn't connect with her as the character, as to where Amanda Bierce did her version of Amy, and she was charming, sweet, innocent, kind of bitchy at the boyfriend because the boyfriend was being, in her words, silly because she thought that he was playing a joke, and you know she thought it was a trick, but he was trying to save her from being in Jerry's grasp, and she automatically goes from being an innocent teenager to becoming a woman in a sense when before she gets transformed and bitten. She just kind of, loses all innocence and becomes a woman in that scene. And in the club scene, too, you see her kind of be under his hypnotic spell when they're in the club, and he pulls her away from Charlie, and he pulls her onto the dance floor, and he hypnotizes her. There's a scene in the original where they're in the club, and Jerry pulls her away from Charlie, and he doesn't even have to touch her shoulder, and she stops. And he wants to turn her while they're in the club, but she's like, no. And he's looking at her like, okay, show me what you want to do. And like I said, Chris manages to make any character he's given work to his advantage and make the audience automatically fall in love with the character or automatically hate it. And by far, in my honest to God opinion, Chris's version of Jerry is very seductive, very charming, charismatic, somewhat dark, but sympathetic as well. I tried watching the remake that they did in 2011. Didn't work. I also have seen the sequel that was done in '88. That was, I loved it. I loved Julie Carmen as Regine, as the little sister of Jerry Dandridge. She was automatically spectacular. She was beautiful. She carried herself real well, and she did what she had to do to make the character of Regine work, and that's all you could ever ask for. I wish to God that we had seen a third installment to the Fright Night movies, but it didn't work out that way. I feel that as fans of both the '85 version and the one done in '88, we were robbed of the second installment. There's been no DVD release yet. As you can find the original on eBay, you can find it on Amazon, you can find it at Walmart, on Walmart.com, but you cannot find the second installment anywhere. The only time you will see it is if it's on Cinemax or HBO or Starz or any of those movie channels. You won't be able to find it anywhere on eBay or Amazon or Walmart, which I think is quite sad. But you can find the remakes and the first one that was done in '85 with no problem. Like I said, I wish to God that the Mendez brothers didn't do what they did, because we were robbed of that. We were robbed of Roddy and the producers potentially working on a third installment, because Roddy wanted to do a third installment in 1990, and the Mendez brothers just screwed that up for everybody. Who knows what could have happened. Roddy was still around at that time wanting to come back and do a third installment. That would have been terrific. Sadly, Roddy is no longer here with us. It's sad that he's no longer here. He did what he had to do to make Peter Vincent work, and that's what I loved about him. He played it as it should have been played. Like I said, the people that did the remake for the first one in 2011, wanted to make it different from the original and make it their own, but I could not get behind that remake or the one that was done in 2013. They basically took the first remake and remade it again in 2013, but they made Jerry a woman instead of a man. I couldn't care for either one, which is why I stick to the one that was done in '85 and the one that was done in '88. Those are my two favorites. I pick Fright Night over Lost Boys. If I was given that chance and somebody said pick one, Fright Night would be my all-time favorite. Um, I think Hollywood has become money hungry. With redoing old favorites, they've done the remake to Fright Night. They've done remake to Conan Barbarian. They've done a remake now to The Witches. Hollywood is running out of ideas. You're basically ruining everybody's childhood that grew up watching The Witches or Fright Night or The Karate Kid. You're just recycling movies that have been done 70s, 80s, and 90s, and 2000s, and you're redoing them, and you're ruining it for everybody else. I understand everybody wants to say, oh, have somebody do a remake of this movie and see how they like it. I don't like it. I think Hollywood is running out of ideas, and it's quite sad. I am still glad to see Chris around and doing Comic-Cons or doing interviews online to let people know, hey, I'm still here. I'm not as active as I once was, but I'm still here. He does mostly Broadway now, but because of what's going on, it's kind of stopped everything for a bit. So, but I'm glad he's still here. I would love to have seen William Rosdale do more acting. He had only done one movie. He hadn't done anything else prior to Fright Night. Amanda Bierce, she's more behind the scenes directing versus acting. I mean, it's something she chose to do, but I would have loved to have seen her do more with her acting career. And Stephen Jeffries as well. These are talented people who were given a chance to showcase their acting ability, and they did a wonderful job. It's just sad that we're getting remake after remake after remake, and it's just horrible. It'll never stop because money. The only thing that matters to Hollywood now is money, nothing else. So, but that's that on that, and I will be doing more soon. All right, thanks.